Hey everybody, this is a repost of the Spike Protein Detox Protocol video. I made a mistake in the actual quantities of the different supplements for the protocol. I do apologize for that. I've been tinkering around using AI tools, and apparently first thing out of the gate is you can't trust them to summarize anything correctly. The first lesson learned was you really need to do your own homework, and those tools they're helpful, but man, don't rely on them. Boy, that was stupid, and I'm sorry. I apologize for the error. And so this is a corrected version. So that I replaced the section in this video where I talk about the actual protocol itself, and also corrected all the show notes. So again, I apologize for the incorrect information in the first video, and so here you go for the original. Aloha. Aloha everyone, and welcome to another Tinker's Academy video. I'm your host Kay Elmer, and in this video I'd like to share with you some pretty interesting news in the health front. There's now been a spike protein detox protocol. That's the first time it's ever been published in a United States medical journal. And so now this is somewhat big news because this is obviously one of the issues of our decade. If you've been following the entire story of the vaccinations and COVID as in terms of long haul COVID. So there's a lot of people suffering from this, and this is the very first protocol that's actually made it through all the channels that need to be gone through in order to actually publish in a medical journal in the United States. So it's a big deal, for this story that's been developing since 2020. So I wanted to share with you that first article that just came out, the research behind it, and the protocol itself. So come along, let's start and jump right in. So the very first thing I want to do, obviously, is I have to do a disclaimer that this video content is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have read or seen in this video or on the Tinker's Academy website. The Tinker's Academy hereby disclaims any and all liability to any party for any direct, indirect, implied, punitive, special, incidental, or other consequential damages arising directly or indirectly from any use of this video content and associated blog posts, which is provided as is and without warranties. So there you go. Thank you for putting up with that. Now, I just want also to say that all of the information shared in this video is available. Links to all of the original material and information collected in this video is all in the video description. So if you're interested in reading the report yourself and or the associated research behind it, feel free. It's all in the links. So there you go. Now let me jump right into the actual article that came out. Now this was published just a couple of weeks ago. Today is September 7th, 2023, so within the last couple of weeks. In the Journal of American Physicians and Surgeons, the fall edition of 2023, an article was published called Clinical Rationale for SARS-CoV-2 based spike protein detoxification in post-COVID-19 and vaccine injury syndromes. Now this was published. The doctors involved with this were Dr. Peter McAuliffe and Dr. Brian Proctor, and I believe another doctor, Cade Wynn, but there's no little initials after this person's name, so I'm not quite sure. However, this article was published in a medical journal. Big deal here, and specifically on how to detox from the spike protein, which, as many of you who follow this news, you may realize that the whole thing behind that is all the mRNA stuff, and now that's been put in all sorts of different vaccines. So this is not going to go away, even if COVID goes away. So I just wanted to point that out. So this paper simply puts together, and of course, if you want to read it, there's a link, but I just want to do a quick summary, as quick as I can, basically highlighting the big points of the paper. And bottom line was, the paper covers the idea of what's been going on, that most people who have contracted COVID-19 or taken one of the many COVID-19 vaccines have been exposed to the injurious SARS-CoV-2 spike protein, which is what they designed that whole vaccine around. And so the immunity handles the infection, defends the body against systemic illness. That's the whole point behind, this is what our bodies do. However, they created this vaccine, and certain people are having issues with it. So that's kind of what they cover in their paper, that the vaccines deliver the genetic code for the spike protein, which is how they want, they wanted to fight fire with fire, right? And the spike protein is associated with post-COVID-19 symptoms, particularly myocarditis in children and young adults. So, some side effects. Surprise, surprise. So, it's just how this is going, right? So now you've got not only you have problems with people with COVID, and there's a lot of people out there with long COVID because of this spike protein issue. But then when they went to go fight it, they created new issues, right, with this vaccine. And that's the spike protein is responsible for the pathogenicity of the SARS-CoV-2 infection and drives the development of adverse events, injuries, disabilities, and death after vaccination through immunologic and thrombotic mechanisms. So that's the fancy way of saying, hey, you know what? There are people that are vaccine injured. There are people who are long COVID injured. And this is really just kind of a bad situation for humanity in general. And it's not going away anytime soon. So what these doctors did, with this understanding, basically they put together a protocol. Now the protocol is supported with research done by other scientists, and I want to walk you through it. And it breaks down into simply 3 natural substances. You can go and buy at any place that sells supplements. You can buy these substances, and they put together the protocol based on the research of the supplement effect on the SARS-CoV-2 virus. And so they put all of this research together and put together this protocol, and that's what this paper basically is. It's the protocol of these different research projects that had gone on with regards specifically to what types of natural substances in our environment can help your body mitigate the effect of these spike proteins that are really hurting people. And so one of the first ones, the papers that support, these are studies that support the paper that Dr. McAuliffe and Dr. Proctor wrote, in the journal. And so I just want to point out that there are some, this is actual hard science that supports the article. It's not just a couple of doctors came up with an idea. It's all tied together. There's research papers published in the medical literature. And then, of course, these guys wrote an article that got approved for the journal. So now, one of the first things that I want to point out is that there's 3 main components and substances that these 2 doctors put together as their protocol, and one of them is called Nattokinase. And basically, what that is, it's a derivative of soybeans. But here's the study here in the National Center for Biological Information, the NCBI directory, and the study for this particular substance is called the Degradative Effect of Nattokinase on Spike Protein of SARS-CoV-2 version 2. And so bottom line, if you read the abstract, you read the study. The studies, I just plucked a little bit out of the abstract. Basically, it says the immunofluorescence analysis showed that the spike protein on the cell surface was degraded when Nattokinase was added to the culture medium. Thus our findings suggest that Nattokinase exhibits potential for the inhibition of SARS-CoV-2 infection via spike protein degradation. So there's definitely been a study that says, hey, Nattokinase works against this stuff. Now the other study that was supporting the journal paper was a study that's also been published in the National Center for Biological Biotechnology Information. And this paper is called the Bromelain Inhibits SARS-CoV-2 Infection in Vero E6 Cells. And so from that abstract, this discovery for these scientists had found out, these are all independent scientists out there in the world, so they're not all working together. These are all different scientists and different doctors and so forth. But these scientists discovered that bromelain, this is right out of their abstract, basically a summary of the results. It says, we demonstrate that bromelain isolated from the pineapple stem used as a dietary supplement treatment diminishes the expression of ACE2 and TMPRSS2 in Vero E6 cells and dramatically lowers the expression of S-ectodomain. Importantly, bromelain treatment reduced the interaction between S-ectodomain and Vero E6 cells. That's scientists were saying it affected the spike protein's ability to infect the cell. Most importantly, though, bromelain treatment significantly diminished the SARS-CoV-2 infection in these Vero E6 cells. Altogether, our results suggest that bromelain or bromelain-rich pineapple stem may be used as an antiviral against COVID-19. So, this is also, again, this is a study that supports bromelain. Now, the third substance in the journal paper that the two doctors put together for a detox is curcumin. Now, for those of you who know, curcumin is an extract of turmeric. And so this paper is published in Science Direct, and it's titled Curcumin Inhibits Spike Protein of New SARS-CoV-2 Variant of Concern, Omicron, and in-silico Study. Okay, it's an in-silico study. So the results were that these scientists discovered that curcumin, among 7 phytochemicals, was found to have the most substantial inhibitory potential with Omicron spike protein. Further, it was found that curcumin could disrupt the Omicron S-HACE2 complex. The molecular dynamic simulation demonstrated that curcumin could form a stable structure with Omicron spike in the physiological environment. So the conclusion of these scientists was to conclude that curcumin can be considered as a potential therapeutic agent against the highly infectious Omicron variant of SARS-CoV-2. All right, so there you go. You've got scientific studies that support 3 separate substances that are all really, really, really helpful as a treatment for spike protein issues, which is both COVID and vaccine injuries. So now going back to the paper, I kind of want to highlight some of the things that the paper said that a lot of folks don't read the whole thing. So I just want to highlight a couple of things that you should be aware of. Now, if you know someone or you yourself have long haul COVID, or you've got COVID, or just regular COVID, or you've had some issues with the vaccine after receiving the boosters and so forth. Going back to the paper by Dr. McAuliffe and Dr. Proctor, I just want to stipulate there's some things that I think are very important here to share. Now, their conclusion in their paper that was published in the journal, it says, conclusion, no therapeutic claims can be made until large prospective randomized double-blind placebo-controlled trials are completed. However, a triad of Nattokinase, Bromelain, and nanocurcumin is a reasonable empiric strategy for those suffering with post-COVID-19 or vaccine-associated symptoms. Chronic disabling from long COVID and following mRNA injections are an increasingly prevalent problem, and Nattokinase, Bromelain, and curcumin should be considered as treatment. So, again, this is a very important point, is that all of those studies were all done in a lab, and there have been no long-term human studies, as much as there's been any long-term human studies of the vaccines, right? So the whole idea here, though, is that hey, they found these things that worked. They and everything about them is should be considered as the treatment. However, be aware that all of this is just coming out. It's all brand new. The paper just came out a couple of weeks ago. All of this is new. So there has been no long-term humans trials, but it's being highly recommended by Dr. McAuliffe and Dr. Proctor as a protocol. When you combine these 3 things, that it will most likely help. Okay. Now, the other thing in the paper that I really want to point out too about some of these things that you should be aware of is Nattokinase. Bottom line, it comes from soybeans. It's a fermented soybean thing. But the thing about it, though, is even though it effectively stops SARS-CoV-2 and bovine herpes virus type 1 infections in human cells in culture, right? And the proteolytic effect of Nattokinase was heat sensitive. So a couple of things here, and the paper also stipulates that, however, the risk of bleeding must be considered when using Nattokinase with concurrent antiplatelet and anticoagulant drugs. Okay, so there's like these little sentences in the journal paper that people might not pick up on, but you need to be aware. If you're on blood thinners, don't take this, period. Okay, or consult with your doctor, but bottom line is that you don't want to be taking Nattokinase if you're on blood thinners, and that's what this one sentence translates to. Okay, it might work really well with SARS, but you don't want to compound your problems. All right, so just heads up on that one. The other one that I want to give everybody a heads up on now, bromelain, as noted, is it's isolated from a pineapple stem. It's been used as an anti-inflammatory and healing effects causing arthritis and injury. Has been approved in Europe and even for burn wounds. It's used for that. It's actually used as a drug too. But the idea about bromelain, though, that I wanted to point out something from the paper that you may not have caught, is that bromelain can increase bleeding risk cause gastrointestinal upset and increase the absorptions of medications, including antibiotics, chemotherapeutic agents, ACE inhibitors, benzodiazepines, certain antidepressants, opioids, and barbiturates. Okay, so when it says that it can increase the absorption of that, then the caution here is taking bromelain, again, if you're on blood thinners, and then also too, if you're on any types of these types of medications, it's a caution that you would be taking bromelain. Obviously, talk to your physician if you're on these drugs. So just a heads up, wanted to make sure everyone's real clear on some of the cautions here that are in the paper that you may not have caught. The other thing about now is the third one is curcumin. Curcumin, again, is a polyphenol that's derived from turmeric. Okay, and of course, the papers show that it prevents the entry of the SARS-2 into cells by blocking the spike protein binding sites on your cells. So it's been found that to do that in the lab. However, one of the other things about curcumin, though, is it's a spice. It's also been shown to reduce inflammatory markers in the settings of COVID spike protein mediated infection and injury. It can be taken as an oral supplement, and this is the key, but may decrease the effectiveness of prescription hormones, thyroid, and estradiol. Okay, so there again, there's another caution. Wanted to make sure that you caught that in the paper. So for those of you who are looking at any kind of relief from whatever you're going through or your loved ones, and you want to go ahead and do this, please be aware of the cautions. Please be aware of the conclusions, and just and walk into this with just awareness of the things that may not work out if you have any of these kinds of situations. So I just want to be real clear about that, and so that's the summary of the protocol, is to say, hey, you know what, we found three things that work really well. Let's put them together. Okay, so now I went through the paper and I accurately, this time, sorry, this is reposting here, about the actual protocol itself. And so I just wanted to kind of stipulate this is exactly what you would need to do according to Dr. McCullough and Proctor in terms of how to detox those spike proteins out of your body. And again, this is for both COVID, long haul COVID, and also the vaccine injury type of symptoms. So the whole thing comes down to the three different substances. So Nattokinase, you would want to take 2,000 FU, and that FU stands for fibrin units, twice a day. You would want to take bromelain along with this. You'd take bromelain 500 milligrams per day and curcumin 500 milligrams twice per day. Okay, now you do that for a whole 90 days, and that's the protocol the doctors are recommending in the journal article. So now I did some Amazon math for everybody. We'll just kind of make it simple for you guys. I go through Amazon and just like you, pick the highest rated number of stars, 4.5 or above, and with the lowest price. And so I kind of decided, hey, if I was going to do this for myself, then let me go ahead and show you guys what I would do, and then what the cost is really to do the protocol. So now, if I picked out these three different products for that reason, right? High review count, low price, lowest price for the highest stars, and so now they all come in different quantities in terms of the amount of the substance within each capsule and the number of tablets within each bottle. So the whole idea here, though, is that if you buy this one particular brand, links in the video description, one bottle at two times a day will last you 60 days, right? It's 120 in there. Same with the curcumin itself. So you would want to go ahead and you need, for 90 days, you'd need at least two of these. So you'd want to buy two of those it'd last you longer than the 90 days, but you'd have enough for the whole 90-day protocol. Okay, and then the thing about Nattokinase, I do want to point out that a little unique is that this type of substance is measured in these fibrin units in terms of its potency, not to be confused with milligrams. Okay, and that's kind of what screwed me up the first time around. And so you would want to get the Nattokinase 2000 FU, and that's what's going to be the correct type of Nattokinase, or the correct potency for the protocol. Now, bromelain is pretty straightforward. It's just buy a bottle, and if you just buy one bottle, it's super cheap, 120 in one. You just take 500 milligrams per day, right, along with the other two substances. So one bottle will last you 120 days, perfect for the protocol. Now with curcumin, I do want to point out, I buy this. I've been buying this and taking this daily for well over a decade. And so the thing about curcumin that you should be aware of when you're out shopping for it is that it's a derivative, or it's an extract of turmeric. Okay, so it takes a bunch of turmeric to make a little bit of curcumin. And so what you'll find that if you go on Amazon, you'll find a bunch of, when you like Google or search for curcumin, you're going to find products that are called turmeric curcumin. And I just want to point out that that is not the same as actual curcumin. So you need to look at the ingredients, and if it says turmeric and they're calling their product turmeric curcumin, it basically means that it's got a whole bunch of cheap turmeric in it and a little bit of the expensive curcumin in it. And so, you know, it's not going to be what you need for the protocol. So for the protocol itself, it is a product that I recommend, that I take myself, which is Curcumin 95 from Jarrow Formulas. And it's all curcumin. You look at the ingredients, it says curcumin, right? Or it says turmeric extract. It doesn't say turmeric. So you got to be real careful about they monkey around with the words on you, and they will sell you a turmeric, making you think that it's curcumin, and it's not. This is all curcumin from Jarrow Formulas. One bottle, 120 days. You can take it twice a day. It's going to be 60 days for one bottle, so you need to buy two to get through the protocol. And so make sure you buy two of those, and make sure you buy actual curcumin. All right? So now if you go on Amazon today and you buy these three products, just to make it simple for you and save you some time, if you buy two and one and two of these, it's going to come out to about $102. So for $102, you know, it's a pretty inexpensive way to detox, these things out of your body, help people that you know are injured and stuff like that. So way lower than my first, analysis. And I'm sorry for the incorrect information in the first video. That's why this is coming out. I want to make sure it's accurate, and that I do correct my mistakes. So hey, this is what you would do: $102. Do the protocol and help yourself feel better, according to Dr. Proctor and Dr. McCullough, and all the research that stands behind it. So there you go. Now I also want to just say, hey, thanks for watching the video. I really appreciate your patronage. You can find me and all the other stuff that I do at tinkers.academy. You just type that in your URL window, and that takes you to my blog. And also too, if you found this information helpful, educational and so forth, that's the type of content that I do put out. So I'd appreciate if you'd like and subscribe to the videos and to my channel, and that helps me promote this information to others, and hopefully help them as well. So otherwise, other than that, I really appreciate your time. Thanks for watching the video, and have a great day. Aloha.